excited because today we are doing the very first episode, Confessions of Mental Health of 2024. If you're someone who has been new to the podcast or just recently come around, you might not have come across these episodes, and maybe you have. But these episodes are confessions of just the things that I feel, the thoughts around mental health, and just kind of topics that I want to talk about or experiences I have gone through that I want to share with you guys. And today I am talking about how I refuse to be hardened by the world. And you might be asking yourself, well, Deloris, what does that mean? And what I mean is I refuse to let the world make me feel bad about my mental health. And I definitely think that going into 2024, there are a lot more people talking about mental health, sharing their mental health illness, sharing stories and posts and videos, and I think that is absolutely amazing. But I still think there is a demographic of people who still fear talking about mental health, who don't want to bring up the topic, who feel like people who are sharing their stories and stuff are seeking attention or wanting people to feel bad for them. And the reason I decided to start sharing about my mental health, like my depression and my anxiety on social media and on the internet, is because I wanted for people who are also struggling not to feel so alone. I wanted to be able to reach out to people and let them know that I too am struggling and have really hard days, but I'm working through it and I keep going, and encourage them to keep going. And I also liked it because it allowed me to connect with other people that were like me, or other people that may have mental health illnesses that I don't necessarily know enough about that they could educate me on. And it's just one of those things that, you either like to talk about it or you don't like to talk about it. And I think that's perfectly okay. I definitely feel like there are a lot more people sharing, which, makes it amazing for other people who might not deal with it themselves or might not have somebody in their life that deals with it, to help them understand more what it's like for those who do suffer. Now, of course, there are people out there who are going to make you feel bad about being open about your mental health, about sharing your mental health. And that was something I worried about at the very beginning. And it is, if I share, who's going to have something to say about it? Who's going to be upset that I'm sharing? And to be honest, when I started sharing, I actually got some really good feedback and positive feedback. I got people who were thanking me for sharing my story because, it helped them share their story, or it helped them realize that there are other people that are suffering like them. So, of course, there again is going to be the other side of that, where people are going to comment and say rude things, who are going to tell you not to talk about what you're going through, who's going to bash you for dealing with what you're dealing with. And I think that, again, those are the people who don't necessarily 100% understand what mental health illnesses are, or just don't feel comfortable talking about it. Because for such a long time, mental health and mental health illnesses were something you didn't speak about. You just kind of dealt with them on your own and you moved forward. And I think that nowadays, with the internet and how it is, we're all so open to new experiences and learning something new that this door for mental health has now opened, and people are talking about it because they want you to know what they're dealing with, and they want you to have a more understanding so you aren't in the dark. But I feel like the people that were in the dark still want to be in the dark because that's where they're comfortable. And I think learning anything new can be uncomfortable because you don't know what it is. You don't know what it's about. And trying to understand that, again, can make you feel really uncomfortable. But I don't think people should make you feel bad about it. I think you should be able to share, and if you don't want to hear about what somebody's sharing, you don't have to consume it. You don't have to read it. You don't have to watch their videos. But people should be allowed to be their authentic self, and being your authentic self, some people deal with a mental health illness, so you should be able to share that. You should be able to share that side, open up about it, talk about it, so then you don't feel like you can't be yourself because you have to make everybody else around you comfortable. I feel like people want to make you feel bad for just being you, and people want you to feel guilty for sharing your story, for talking about your mental health. And for me, I'm like, you know what? I deal with depression. Not every single day is really, really bad. But on those bad days, I might just want to share what I'm going through or how I'm feeling, just so then, again, other people don't feel alone. But then it educates somebody to say, okay, maybe I should be looking for these things in my friends, my family members, my loved ones, because there could always be somebody in your life who is suffering that you don't know is suffering, because they're scared to let you know, maybe from a reaction you've had in the past. And again, there are a lot of people who are suffering in silence because they're so scared of what other people are going to say to them or about them, that they would rather just kind of live in their own bubble than reach out and find that thing that's going to help. And I feel like too, when you do that, a lot of people are deterred from seeking help from family members, from doctors and everything, because they're scared to be labeled in this mental health group. And when I say that, is like, when we're labeled into this mental health group, it's this group that's standoffish. Oh, you don't want to be friends with somebody with a mental health illness because they're trouble, and they're bad friends, and just like all this stuff. And that's not true. Your best of friends, your loved ones that you love the most, could be struggling and be there for you. Something I also realize is the people that deal with mental health are more empathetic towards other people, because we know what it's like to be at our lowest. We know what it's like to feel like crap and to not feel loved and not to feel cared for. So we don't want other people to feel like that. So we will love harder and care harder and be there for people harder, because we know what it's like to not have that, like, those people there for us, or to feel ultimately alone. And I just think that no matter what, no matter how big, mental health gets talked about, or people talk about their mental health illness, the world is always going to have an opinion about it. The world is always going to have something to say. One day it's good, and the next day it's bad. And everybody is allowed their opinions. And I think sometimes too, that is why it deters us from sharing, because we don't want that negative feedback. We don't want people saying things. We don't want the comments about us just wanting attention, or whatever people are going to say. And it's like, you know what? You're allowed to have your opinion, but that opinion I don't have to take to heart. And that's something for me that I used to do a lot, is that when I would say something or do something, someone's comment or opinion on what I was doing or what I was saying, I took really hard. Like, that meant something about myself, about my personality, and really it doesn't. It's just, that's what they think, and that's fine. You can think whatever you want, but I'm gonna be myself. I'm not gonna change who I am. I'm not gonna not talk about, dealing with what I'm dealing with just to make you happy. I want to be me. I want to be happy. I want to share my story. I want to be able to connect with other people who have been made to be silent because of the people around them. And maybe you are around people who aren't there to support and love you. And maybe that is your step to say, okay, these are the people I need to surround myself with. I need to find people who understand, who love me, and who will care about me. and who will not judge me, could sit in a room with me and talk about what I'm going through and just be there for me. And I think that's why sometimes social media can be important in that aspect, because if you open up, you can find a community of people who you can connect with and become friends with and be able to share, what's going on with you and what's going on with them without any judgment. That's part of the reason I started this podcast, because I think it's important to talk about mental health in the right way. And I think it's important to discuss what's going on with the people you surround yourself with. And it's important to discuss how it makes you feel. And that's why I just refuse to let the world make me feel guilty, make me feel bad about what I'm struggling with or how my life is and how I'm dealing with it. If you could only be in somebody else's shoes, if you could only see through their eyes, if you could only be in their head and, think the thoughts that they're having, only then would you 100% realize what they're going through. And something I always think about with people commenting is something you're told as a child. It's, if you have nothing nice today to say, don't say anything at all. But that's not how the world works. People say rude things. People yell at you for no reason. And a lot of the times that has nothing to do with you. It has to do with them. And a lot of the times when people comment on videos or posts about something they don't completely understand, it's because they're afraid of the unknown. They don't know enough to comprehend what you're saying, so they would rather just be judgmental than try to grasp what you're going through or what you're saying, or even to learn and understand what you might be talking about. People don't like change, and I think going in to 2024, and I think the more as years go on and the more people are talking about mental health illnesses and openly talking about mental health, the more it's going to push people out of that comfort zone. Because I definitely think that our parents in their generation, you didn't talk about it. You dealt with it, you took medicine, you went to therapy, but you didn't talk about those things. You didn't talk about taking medicine. You didn't talk about going to therapy. You just kind of dealt with it on your own. And I think it's hard for that generation to understand this generation who is so open and willing to talk about it, that I think it kind of scares them. Change is scary. And with mental health, it's always constantly changing, and people are always constantly sharing. And I love to share. I love to share what I'm going through. I love to share my thoughts. I love to share my feelings. And again, I have never done it to make somebody feel bad for me. I don't do it for attention. I do it because I want people to not feel alone. I want people to know that there are other people just like them out there who are struggling with them so they don't feel alone. Because I know what it's like to be alone. I know what it's like to feel alone, to be in, a black pit of my mind, and I don't necessarily like it. And I know there's other people that are there. And if only, one person could see something I post and relate to it, and it could pull them out of wherever they're in, would be great. I create my posts, my, reels, my videos, my episodes to help that person who may need it the most, who is scared and has been pushed so far that they feel like they can't move forward or they just don't know what to do. And part of the reason I think a lot of people feel that way is because the world has made you feel that way. the world has not accepted you for who you are, and the world has not accepted that you have a mental health illness, or you're dealing with, your mental health in a way that you need help, and the world has made you feel that way. But like I said, going into 2024, and I think even last year in 2023, people are just being open and honest about who they are and what they're struggling with. And again, there's going to be people who don't like that, and that's okay. We're not made for everybody on this planet, and we're not made so everybody could like us. There's going to be people who really like us, and there's going to be people who don't, and that's okay. I'm not here to relate to every single person, but I know that I'm going to relate to some people. And some people are really going to like what I'm saying, and they're going to really like my posts and my reels and my videos and my episodes. And it's going to allow them to maybe take that step out of that comfort zone that they've been in for a long time. Because that's all that matters. All that matters is that I can make a difference in someone's life. And maybe this podcast or my vlogs, or again, my posts on Instagram or my reels or my shorts or whatever it is that I could create can reach somebody and help them change their life or change their opinion or open their mind. Because really that's all we can hope, is that the more we share, the more it can open people's minds to help them understand more of what other people are going through and how they feel. And that's all that matters, and that's all we want. I can probably 100% tell you that there is not one person who is dealing with a mental health illness that wants you to feel pity for them, who wants you to feel sad for them. And they're not posting and talking about it to get attention. They're just talking about it because that's who they are. And to be who you are, 100% who you are, you have to share those moments. You have to share the good with the bad. And I think that social media is going in that direction. People are showing the behind the scenes and the ugly days because those are more relatable. It's more relatable to be 100% about who you are and what you're doing than to try to cover it up with this like perfect life and this, perfect content. Show the messy, because I think the messy is where it's at. So today's confession of mental health is that I refuse to be hardened by the world. And I think that you should refuse to be hardened by the world as well.